All right, y'all. Peace, peace. What's going on? Uh, Hope everybody had a good Christmas, man. See if I get my little camera a little bit better on my. Hope everybody had a good Christmas, man. New Year's is tomorrow. So uh, wish everybody a happy New Year, man. I like to thank the guys that have or and females that have subscribed, man. I was surprised behind that. I had some stuff on this channel before about 3 years ago. Had like almost 100 videos up there. Actually, were music stuff, but I ended up getting a copyright strike, and they didn't even give me the warning. They just struck it, and I was like, okay, let me take this stuff down before they find something else, because all my stuff was pretty much sample. It's pretty much sample based. So I was like, let me take this stuff down before they find another sample, which I had more samples. So, but to my fault, I did something I never do, which is the sample that I chopped up and made, I ended up using that as the intro. So I used the original sample as the intro, and then it led into my flip. And I never do that. That's a no-no, with me anyway. I never do that. So I did that, and the algorithms picked up on it, and that was that. So I took everything down, but I appreciate everybody, man, and hopefully people are getting something from these, or being entertained, or both, and that's cool too. So this one right here is about the 3 ways that I like to sample with the MV. And people that don't have an MV, they can still use these concepts, but mainly it's for the MV users. So the 3 ways I like to sample. First way is using the start trigger and the stop trigger. And let me show you. Let me hit sample. And this screen right here, this area right here, this box, you see start trigger and you see stop trigger. Your start trigger over here, your start trigger has to do with what makes the sampler start sampling. This is the start trigger. Manual means when I hit start, it's sampling right now, so there's nothing going in. Cancel that. You got 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4. This is hitting sample. This one is by level. This is the only one that really pertains to sampling. The other 2, pad and play, pertain to resampling, and I'll show you that in a second. But the first way is sampling when you know how many beats or bars, or in this case beats, that the sample that you want to sample is, right? So the start trigger will be level, which means if you can see these 2 arrows right here pointing to each other, when I turn these down, you see them right here. Once the music comes in and passes these 2 right here, it triggers to sample, right? So this is what you want to do. Number 1 is you want to go ahead and listen to your sample and see what you have, what kind of sample it is, and where you want it to start. The next thing you want to do is go ahead and cue that sample up right when you want it to start sampling. Don't have it a little bit before, have it right on the cue mark. And once you hit play, it samples. And it samples from the beginning where you want it to sample. So cue up your sample and know how many beats it is. And here is the stop trigger, which means this is going to stop your beat right when it needs to be. So is it 1 bar? Is it 2 beats? 1 beat? 16 beats? I have a sample right here, which, I have a sample right here to sample. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample this in, and I know it's 16 beats, and I'll count it That way you can know what I mean by beats. This is for new guys. People that know how to do this, they know what's going on. This is this is the new stuff. You know what I mean? So first off, let me cue up my sample. Let me play my sample and see what I got. And for the people that know what this is, they know. But I don't think I'll get a copyright for this. I don't think I will, because this is, if you know, you know, right? So let me play it and see what we got, right? All right. Now, if you know, you know, and just for sample purposes, I just gave you a sample to chop up and rework. So let me give myself a little more volume. A little more volume. So that is the sample. Now I know that sample is 16 beats. It's because I flipped this sample already. I flipped this a while ago. So I'm using it now. I'll let you hear what I did with the sample, how I chopped it up. But for now, let's just continue on. So let me count it out, and then we'll go from there. I'm not going to sample anything yet. I'm just going to count it so you can know what I'm talking about. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Right? Now my beats are 16. On my beat, it's 16. So now look down here, right down here where I was telling you the threshold. Now watch when the music comes through. See how fast it came through? That's how quick the sampler is going to trigger. That's why you want that to be down as far as it can go, and that's the furthest it can go. So, and you want to make sure your level's right. You want to always take any kind of sound, and when you're sampling, you want to make sure you sample at the hottest you can sample it, or the loudest you can sample it without clipping. But in this case, you want to keep things where it's at. It's cool. Where it's at, it's good. Where it's at is good. In between 4 and 12 is good. It's great. That's great. So that'll give you a rule of thumb. Anywhere between 12 and 4 is perfect. So let's go. I'm going to hit start and watch what happens when I hit start. It says waiting, right? Because we have it set up to trigger when I do this. Now, it stopped by itself. I didn't hit stop. Okay, so here's my sample. It should be a perfect loop. It should be a perfect loop. And as you can see right here, your bass note, this is crucial if you want to time stretch, or what the MV calls time stretching, which is beat syncing. And it's a little different now. When I first started using it, I was like, well, this is terrible. I hate this. And I'm not a big time stretching fan anyway. I do it manual. I control how fast or the pitch and everything else. But we're doing this so let's preview it. This is the preview screen. Let's preview it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now let's turn this loop on. I don't think it's going to loop perfectly right now because I see a gap at the end. Let's try it. Go. Yeah, so there's a gap right there, and this happens sometimes. So let's close this gap in. And what I'm looking for is a clean loop, right? So let's see what we got. Let's see if we can get a clean loop. I know the top is good. I know the start point is perfect. So let's go. So cool. So we'll truncate this because we'll cut this end off where the red mark, where the end marker is. We'll cut that air off, and you can normalize it. It's at a good level right now for me anyway. But we can normalize it and go ahead and hit quick edit. And from here, you want to hit assign to audio phrase, right? And I like to start from the top, left to right, top to bottom. So I put my audio phrase there. Doesn't matter where you put it where you want, right? Okay, we done. That was the first part of sampling. Let's go a little bit further. Pattern. Go ahead and select your audio phrase. Select the pad that you put your audio phrase on. Hit quick edit. Now you have it show up here. It's in a loop. Now this is why knowing what the bass note is, because you can start to manipulate it now if you want to. So and this is how you time stretch or beat sync. And this is what tricked me. I was like, okay, time stretch and beat sync are kind of different, right? BPM sync, which means it takes you the BPM of your audio phrase and syncs it to the BPM of your project. It's not that great. I don't really like it. I don't like how it sounds. It sounds terrible, but I'm going to show you anyway. So right now my project tempo is at defaulted at 100, which is the default, it shows that the audio phrase we just sampled is 102.5. So it's not far apart. So it should sound decent together, but let me show you something here. Let's keep it at 100 just to say my project is at 100. Let's turn beat sync on and let's hit the pad. So when you're close, when your sample source is close to your project tempo, it doesn't sound bad at all. It sounds good actually, but check this out. I'm gonna change my project tempo to 90. And in my evaluation, I'm not trying to make this about the beat sync. I got to keep moving, but in my experience with this, when it comes to using the beat sync, if your source material is not close to your BPM, the sound is going to start, when it stretches, it's going to start not sounding good. And listen. Without it, clearer. Here's that horrible. And now this stretch algorithm is supposed to help it not have that sound, that washed out sound, but this makes it worse. And I don't really like it. Peep, put it on 1. It's terrible. The more you put it, the better it's supposed to be. It's terrible. Now, to be fair, drum loops are better than musical material. Okay. When you want to do this, drum loops are better to me. And your sample source has to be close to your project tempo, in my experience. So, and I'm not a big time stretch fan, but on with the tutorial. Okay. I didn't mean to get long-winded, but on with the tutorial. Now, you have it beat sync. Just to say it's 90 BPM, and we're going to go with 90 BPM. Now, what I want to do, if I want to chop it, now I can chop it right now. It doesn't matter. But if you want your chops to be on beat with your tempo, right, then make sure you have beat sync or BPM sync checked on. Sample. Now this might be long-winded to some, but I'm just going to show you how you do it. If you want, I got 2 more ways that I do it too, and I'm talking too, so it doesn't, It will be faster if I'm not explaining it, but I'm making sure I'm explaining it. You go sample, resample. And the reason why you're resampling is that now when you sample it back in, you're sampling it at 90 BPM, right? So what I was saying earlier about the other two ways that you can sample as a start trigger is now I can take it off level, right? Because I hadn't sequenced anything. I don't need to push play. And this pad right here, I can sample in now. And at the same beat. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Let's bring him down a little bit and hit start. It's waiting for me to hit this pad. And it stops on its own. I love this machine. Love it. And I think this is going to be cool. So I'm going to take the loop off now because I don't need it. And I know I can preview it. And I can still preview the 16. Now it's telling me right down here that it's 90 BPM. So anybody that wants to sync their stuff, their musical parts or the drum loops, make sure you sample what you want to sample in at the beats that you want it to be. Make sure when you're in your preview screen that you get that good loop that you want. Resample it, which is what I have right here. Now I will go to assign and chop. And we'll get into some chop functions real quick. Now I can auto chop this. I can chop it. I can put my own chops in here. I can add points in here and put my own chops in. Oh, I can add points in here and put my own chops in here. You know what I mean? So, but we're going to use the auto chop. Hit auto chop. Chopping it by okay, for one, first off, this is a more rhythmic, that's not what I'm trying to say. This track has, you can see the upbeats and the downbeats. Upbeats meaning snares, downbeats meaning kicks. Boom, downbeat, kick, pop, snare, upbeat. You hear that up and down. So let's execute with level and see what it gives us. Level was supposed to do it by loudness, from what I understand. Now, to me, I can't do anything with this. To me, somebody else might be able to do something. I can't do anything with these chops. So I'm going to go back out and I'm going to do it again. Execute, or no, I'm sorry, not execute, but send to. Now I can chop this. Go ahead and chop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chop it. And what I like to do, either I like to chop it on beat because it's going to put it on beat. So, and you see those guys that chop up a sample on beat and then they play it back. Play the whole sample back going up the pads or down the pads. But then they sequence it. And it's like, why did you do that? You should have just played the loop. Why did you chop it up and just replay it back with the chops? That doesn't make sense. You didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? You didn't get creative. You didn't use any artistic, you know. So let's go with chopping it on beat. See, now that's upbeats and downbeats. That's a little secret, young new guys. That's a little tip. Because you have a kick and a snare. Now, you need to tighten your chops up, but you see what I'm saying? Now you can play those chops like a drum. The James Brown effect. That's what I like. Now, I might not chop it up like that, but now on beat, when it's chopped up on beat, it's on beat. Boom, 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 Now it's on beat and it's at 90 BPM. So that's how you would chop it at 90 BPM. That's the speed. Tick, 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 tick. Right? Now, one more way I like to chop real quick. I'm going to go back out. Go back out and do it all over again. Quick assign and go ahead and chop. Pull it back in again. This is the way that I like to chop when I use it this way. I like to use divide X. And since I have 16 beats, I want 16 chops. Right? So with divide X, you come down. Sorry about that. Let's go back. One more time. Sorry about that. Go ahead and chop. Now, back to where I was. Auto chop, divide X. Now I go down here to times, and I say 16. Now it's similar to chopping on beat. Right, it's very similar to chopping on beat. So, chop on beat, chop by level, or chop by divide X. Use those two, divide X or chop on beat, when you have a specific bar amount or a beat count, right? These are the best auto chopping functions because one, they get you where you need to be faster. I'm just talking. Now I'm going to assign these to the patch, and they're going to be a patch 1, and go back to pattern and go down here to MIDI track, hit any other pads, and they're on here. The next thing you want to do is go to quick edit and go to your pads and start to tighten your pads up. Each one. This is non-destructive chopping, so it didn't get rid of anything. You see the whole sample still there. So if you don't want that piece and you want to go out and get something else and come to the front and get something and get this snare instead, you can do that, right? So that's what non-destructive chopping is. It's good like that. It's dope like that. So what you want to do is go through and tighten all your chops up. Make sure your chops are on point. You're going to manipulate samples way better if your chops are on point. When you hit that pad, your sample should fire, right? You hear that pop? That's a no-no. You don't want that. This pop, I'm going to go exit. If you come down here, right here to your attack, and put one in, it goes away. Little pop at the beginning of that. Little pop. I do them all like this anyway. You see? And then you're ready to go. I go here, go to my pattern screen, turn up my metronome so I can hear it, turn down my sample so I can hear my metronome, make sure my beat is on beat. See, now I can chop to that tempo. Tick, 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 right? So that's the first way of chopping. Now I know it's a little long-winded because I'm talking, but if I was doing it without talking, you'd see. So let me do it without talking so you can see how fast it really is. All right, let's undo this. Let's go back to sample. And I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to do it how I would do it if I wasn't showing you how to do it. All right. Oh, you know what? I didn't put my trigger, but that's okay. I didn't do my stop trigger, but see, yeah, see. Well, you know what your beat length is, and you know the process. That's how fast it is. It's not really. It's not even a whole lot of stuff to do. So that's the first way. So this is already 30 minutes, man. You know what I'm saying? So I'll tell you what, man. I'll make the other two on another day, man. But hopefully, just to recap, I said 3 ways, but I'm gonna have to do the other 2 ways and on another video, man. So to recap, sample screen, start trigger, goes by level, right here. Goes by level. Know how many beats your sample is going to be. Cue up that sample right on beat to where it starts. Make sure you have your start trigger at the lowest dB, so as soon as that music comes through, it starts sampling. Make sure you have your stop trigger at the beat that it's supposed to stop at. Sample that in. You'll go to the preview screen. Make sure you have a good loop. You don't have to make it loop. Just makes sure you are on beat, because if it loops perfectly the BPM sync or the bass note is correct, then your chops, when you resample it back in, your chops will be on beat how you want it to be. Use either beat or use either divide X to get your multiples of however many chops you need. If you have 16 beats, I like to use 16 chops. 16, give me 16 pieces. You can, like I said, you can also use beat. They're really similar. You know what I mean? So hopefully this helps y'all sample. It's a little long-winded. Next time I will make sure to make it brief and to the point so y'all can get back to business, man. All right. Peace, y'all.